Okay, so today we're going to talk about the concept of supply. And really, the only thing I expect you to come out of this understanding is to be able to distinguish between supply and quantity supplied, and to understand why the supply curve shifts up, slopes up. Okay? So those are the basic goals here. Shouldn't take long. Remember that in the last unit, we studied the circular flow model. Okay? In the circular flow, you have the product market, right? In the factor market. Remember in economics, factor, resource, and input all mean the same thing. They're synonyms. We kind of use them interchangeably. The factor market and product market, you have firms, and consumers. Okay, we would say that consumers are on the demand side of the product market, and that firms are on the supply side of the product market. Okay, so here, right now, the markets that we're dealing with are product markets. Okay, so let's take the market for rice. The product is rice. Firms are on the supply side, consumers are on the demand side. So the analysis of demand that we did over the last couple of classes has to do with the consumers on the demand side, and now we're going to focus on the firms on the supply side. Okay? So whereas with consumers, as the price rose, they consumed less, right? We moved left in terms of quantity demanded. We have the opposite with suppliers, okay, with producers. Producers will produce more as the price rises, okay? And we call the set of quantities supplied that producers will supply at the entire range of prices, supply or the supply curve. You can write the entire word out or just use the abbreviation S, okay? So the question is, why does the supply curve slope up? It seems to make intuitive sense that as prices go up, suppliers are going to supply more, right? Because they can get more for their goods. So that's kind of the intuitive case. Yeah, that makes sense, okay? But why is it, okay? The economic rationale for it, okay, has to do with the fact that the supply curve is equal to the marginal cost of producing the good at each additional unit, okay? The marginal cost, okay? So at 1 unit of output, okay, we would say that 1 is the quantity supplied. Let's just say that's $1, okay? Then the marginal cost of producing that good would be $1, meaning at zero units, it obviously costs nothing to produce the good except for this, the fixed cost, right? And then as you produce 1 unit of the good, you have to hire more workers and other kinds of variable costs come in, okay? And so the first unit is going to cost about $1. So the marginal cost of producing the first unit is $1, okay? The second unit, okay, the marginal cost of producing the second unit maybe is $1.50. Okay, so it costs $1 to produce this unit and $1.50 to produce this unit. So at 2 units, the total cost is what? $2.50. Right? Yeah, $2.50. And so you see the marginal costs are what? Are increasing, they're rising, that's right. Okay, and they're rising because there's increasing pressure on the inputs, on the resources that are necessary in order to make rice, right? As you produce more rice, you need more land, right? As you use more land, you have to either rent land from somebody who lives next to you, okay? And that's probably going to cost more than the land which you're currently using that you own. In addition to that, even if you're leaving some land fallow, right, and planting on other land, if you would decide to increase what you plant, it's only rational that you would have originally planted on the land that is most productive, that's most fertile. So as you expand output from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 units and so forth, you must be planting on increasingly less fertile land, okay? Less productive land, which means you get less output for the same amount of cost, so your per unit costs are rising, your marginal costs are rising, and so that would be the case throughout the entire range of output as it increases, and therefore the supply curve rises, or the marginal costs rise, causing the supply curve to be upward sloping, meaning that a farmer who produces this first unit would sell it for $1. That's what this tells us. Because he can produce it for $1, he'll sell it for $1 or more. For the second unit, the farmer would be willing to sell that good for $1.50 or more, and so forth and so on. Okay? So this takes us back to the law of increasing opportunity costs, right? Which is basically the same thing as this these increasing marginal costs on the supply curve. So when in our last unit, where we explained the bowed out shape of the production possibilities frontier as being explained by increasing opportunity costs, okay, that's directly related to the idea that the supply curve is upward sloping because of increasing marginal costs. All right?